Hey Niner Empire, what's up? Duncan here for today's daily GM. First and foremost though, please subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comment in the box below, and hit that bell for notifications. Okay, let's talk Niners. Now we all know we got Garoppolo, we all know we got Sherman. Those are big hits. But it's time to build. And my general management is based on spending money to build a foundation for the next 2 to 3 years, and spending those 2 to 3 years to building depth through the draft, so that when the time comes that some of our guys retire or move on, we'll have money available and guys behind in depth to move up in the roster. We can develop our young players. This is why I tend to spend money as a general manager. So the very first thing I want to do is protect my quarterback. We all know we love Jimmy G. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be amazing for us. We know he's got an undefeated started record for us. And we've really yet to see him with Garcon as well as Goodwin. But let's give him a team. Starting with, like every good general manager, the offensive line. I want to sign 2 veteran linemen. I want to sign offensive guard / center John Sullivan from the Rams. I also want to sign Justin Pugh from the Giants. He's a guard and a tackle. Now, the reason is both are good, both are solid solid in the run game, both are solid in the pass game. Now, neither one of them are Norwell, but both of them combined are going to equal about as much, maybe a little bit more. I'm thinking you pay Sullivan about $9 million, Pugh about $7.5 to $8 million. Suddenly, our offensive line has Staley, Sullivan, Kilgore, Pugh, and either Gillian or Brown. Now, I will address depth in the draft. Next, though, I want to bring in weapons. Jimmy G is great. We all know he's great, but we want weapons. So the first thing I want to do is I want to bring in a wide receiver. And now everybody's going to say, well, we got 3 pretty good receivers. We do. But sometimes Kyle likes to roll with 4. And to really truly experience that 2016 Atlanta Falcon type offense, we're going to need a receiver that knows the offense and that's explosive. This is, I've been saying Watkins and I've been saying Allen Robinson, but both are apparently gone now. So, with those 2 off the table, I'm looking at Taylor Gabriel from Atlanta. He's been with Kyle in Cleveland. He's been with Kyle in Atlanta. He's had amazing seasons under Kyle. He knows his role. He's very good at it. I think he'd be a pretty good pickup. Okay, and I think we can get him for about $9.5 million per year, probably 2 to 3 years is what I'm expecting. Okay, so you got your O-line set, you got your quarterback set, you got your wide receiver set. The next thing I'm doing is I'm bringing back a local legend, a fan favorite, someone we all know, we all love, the ageless wonder, running back Frank Gore. I'm bringing him back on a 2-year, $5.5 million deal. I want him to block, and I want him to get his usual 100 yards a game. Okay, Frank Gore is the man. Even at his age, we all know what he does for this team. I don't even need to explain what Frank is capable of. But I will address depth in the draft. Now, With the offense set, I'm going to turn my attention to defense. And there's only really one player that I'm bringing in on defense. And that's cornerback Malcolm Butler. And everybody's telling me we don't need to spend the money on him. We don't need it. But here's the thing. We don't necessarily know where Sherman's at. If he comes back at 100% and he's the guy we all know, then, hey, suddenly we have 2 Pro Bowl corners. But if he doesn't come back and he takes 3, 4, 5 weeks to really come back, then we still have a Pro Bowl corner in Malcolm Butler. The idea is you're getting Butler for multiple years, 3, 4 years. You got Sherman for 3 years. Suddenly you have the best, or one of the best, cornerback duos in all of football. Then you add in Spoon. You add in Witherspoon. Now you have a dynamic cornerback core. Okay? I believe Butler would come for about $15.5 to $16 million per year. And I think it would be a great investment for our defense. Now imagine our corners are locked down. See, the thing about the defense we run is it's designed to stuff the run. And in order to really do that, they dedicate a lot of men in the box, which means your corners have to be able to man up and play in zone. Both of which Sherman and Butler are amazing at. Or at least they're really good at. They know that job really well. So, even though it's an expensive secondary, it's a very well invested secondary. Now, with the secondary set and the defensive line decent, I'm turning my attention to the draft. Because I feel like I spent about $46, $47 million in free agency, the majority of all of our money, and I'm going to go to the draft now. The first person I'm drafting is Tremaine Edmunds, the linebacker. He's your guy who's going to come off that edge. He's the guy that's going to come and he's going to wreak havoc on quarterbacks. He's quick, he's agile, he's physical, he can attack. He's very decent, very good linebacker. Throw him in with Reuben Foster and even a Malcolm Smith coming back from injury, and you have a decent linebacking core. If not a good, young linebacking core. Now, my second pick, I'm going back to the line. I'm going O-line. I'm getting offensive guard / center Frank Ragnow. Now, he's a guy, Frank Ragnow, who comes from, I believe it's Arkansas. He's big, he's strong, he's really good in the pass, but he's dominating at run blocker. And a lot of people don't realize his skill sets. He's a guy who transitions really good. He could fit in Kyle's system, and he can come in and be a decent backup at our guards, as a guard, and, at to say the least. I believe he could make the roster and help with our depth. Now suddenly you're talking about Garnett, Ragnow, Zuda, Beatles, and either Gillian or Brown as backup linemen, then you got a pretty good offensive line set, and you got a good depth for the future. So, that being said, your O-line is done. Your O-line's good to go. Your secondary's good to go. Your receiver's good to go. Your quarterbacks are good to go. Now, I'm going to go to the third pick, and I'm getting one of my favorite running backs, Royce Freeman from Oregon. He's a guy who can take it out of the flat. He's a guy who can catch passes. He's a guy who can break tackles, run through tackles. He's a guy who can, he's a workhorse. And he's from a high octane offense, which means he plays a lot of snaps. He's in shape. I'm picking Royce Freeman with my third pick because I believe Frank Gore, Freeman, Breida, and Mostert are going to be a very, very good running back core. Now, with that said, I'm going to go to my fourth pick, which I'm going back to linebacker, Jeff Holland. He's a guy that's mostly known for quarterback pressure. He can play both linebacker, defensive end. He's coming from Auburn. Really good off the edge, but he's also pretty good in different packages, which really means he can push, at least in camp, some of the guys we have, to say the least, or maybe even take a job from a guy. Who knows? You know, competition is good. Adding competition is great. Now, with my fifth pick, I'm going to Dalton Schultz, the tight end from Stanford. Schultz is a really good blocker, which Kyle loves, but he's also a guy that finds the end zone. He has a knack for scoring touchdowns in the red zone. He's big, he's strong, and I believe Kyle could do a lot with his skill set. I also think that this opens the door to trade Selleck for maybe a 2019 draft pick or two. Now, I do believe Joe Williams will be cut just because he wasn't having a great season before he got hurt. And if you're talking Gore and Freeman with Breida and Mostert, I just don't see Williams making this team. Now, continuing on, with the offense basically set, I'm going to add depth to my defensive line. I'm going to go defensive end, Javon Roland Jones. He's a big guy, but he can play both defensive end or outside linebacker. He's going to be known from, he's another guy that can bring quarterback or pressure off the edge. This is something that I'm focusing a lot on in my off season because I want to add competition to that role. Because that's one thing we lacked, and I don't necessarily think we have to spend a lot of money on it. I just think that we have to push the guys that we have to stay healthy and to play at the level we know they can. Now, my seventh pick, I'm going best safety available. And the reason being is because Tartt's coming off of an injury. We don't know about Reed. He could be gone in free agency. Colbert had a great year. Ward was hurt. You know, there's just a lot of injury question marks there. And bringing in a free safety, or even just a safety that can play either or roles, even if it's just for, like I said, competition, then it'd be great. But if we hit another home run, like we did with Colbert, and we end up getting a guy this late in the draft that actually makes the team and does really well, you could push a guy like Jimmy Ward out or someone like that, and that's even more money towards next year's salary. So, we can go with that. Now, with my my eighth pick, I'm going with wide receiver Byron Pringle. Okay, Byron Pringle, the reason I went with him is because he's from Kansas State, which is known for a high-octane offense, but he's also, he can make a lot of catches. He can get down the field pretty good. He's got some size, but he's a really good returner as well. Okay, which is something that I don't think we necessarily need, but It never hurts to add more competition, even if it's to the practice squad. Okay? Now, with my final pick, I'm getting another linebacker, Miles Pierce. This guy's a lot like Peta from last year. He's a guy that's, he's a question mark to a lot of scouts. You know he's fast. You know he's got the prototypical size. But he's coming off that edge quick. That's really his only skill set. And he's probably not going to make the team. But he at least continues to add competition to the edge. And that's really my goal.